I don't have a bit for this.
I'm going to need more than 9 days to process this.
There you go. There's the bit.
Oh,
But you will not be proceeding with this.
oh man.
All right. So this is one of those experimental films. We got like both kind of. It's like, well, that looks intriguing.
I
Uh,
mean, just out the gate, like straight up, first thing I need to say is I'm very interested. Like, if this is his debut film,
right.
um, wow.
Yeah.
And very, very interested to see um
Whew.
where this guy's gonna go with his next thing, whatever it is, because that was astonishing. That was
Yeah.
a that was a unique experience. I'm surprised at how like this is the kind of thing you wish for when you think about indie movies.
Yeah. An
Um,
actor's movie for sure.
yeah, when you think of something where it's just basically riding along purely on the strength of its writing and the acting,
Oh,
like
unbelievable.
there's not a lot more to this movie than that, but considering that those are like, the core pieces of movies, um it excels in a way that most movies just don't, like, just can't.
Yeah.
It's really something.
I mean, if I had to like put a easy story synopsis on here, it's kind of like if Soul met Survivor.
And that makes it sound way more exciting than it is.
I know, right?
It's not an energetic movie.
No,
Don't
it's
don't don't
very
take it as that. There's not a lot of fun going on here. It's a
no.
quiet, thoughtful, meditative film about what it means to live,
Yeah.
essentially.
I know this is one of those films there, like because you and I are supposed to watch this yesterday. I'm honestly kind of glad we saw it separately.
Yeah, no, I had
Um,
something come up there. I had to postpone to today, and honestly, like, this is definitely one of those that I feel like it's a good thing that we experienced it on our own
because that
separately.
was a case where like I think I just like walked out of my car and just like sat in my car in silence for like a solid 20 minutes on the drive home, which was
Yeah, if I didn't have like if I didn't have like a full schedule for the rest of the week, I might have asked for a few more days just to think about this.
yeah.
Uh, it's heavy in a weird way. Like, it's not heavy in the way that, like, you would normally think of a heavy movie to be.
Now this movie is dripping in humanity, I think is kind of what you're
Oh
looking
God. Yeah, it's a
for.
deeply human movie.
Like in every kind of
Very,
raw intensity that comes with that in both the good and bad ways.
yeah, deeply felt.
Yeah. And the moments that are beautiful are profoundly beautiful. I cried in a couple scenes. Um,
mhm.
the
That last
acting,
scene fucked me up, man. That
that last scene, I have some mixed feelings about the ending. I'll be curious what your thoughts are on it too. I understand why they went the direction they did,
I
but I'm a little torn on it. So we'll get to that when we like briefly talk about spoilers. I don't want to give too much away, but that is one scene in particular I want to talk about. Um, but yeah, for those who don't know what this movie has it's basically kind of a surreal plot where basically everyone like in creation there's this kind of weird void, like this weird eternal abyss that's just like this plain flat field, like you're in Texas and some houses with people called interviewers. And their goal is basically to interview souls to determine whether or not the interviewer wants to watch the rest of her life so they can go live. So basically means like 10 souls are created for the express purpose of being interviewed by this interviewer. And after 9 days, they have to narrow it down to one, determine who's going to go on to actually live a life. Uh,
Mhm.
which the interviewer is going to basically watch them and kind of like not necessarily be a guardian angel, but almost like a chronicler of their life.
Yeah.
and everything that means. The catch is the interviewer used to be alive from themselves, so they have kind of the experience supposed to.
Yeah.
Uh,
So it's the real meat of the movie is watching these characters like take the tests and how they interact differently with what is presented to them.
yeah.
And
The varying degrees of, first of all, moral ambiguity is a pretty prevalent theme, I feel like, through a lot of this.
well, it's the question is, how what is the best way to live? What makes life worth living? What stands out to different people as, what they focus on in life? And it touches on so many different things
Mm-hmm.
and perspectives, and the pain of the main character is so subtle, and
Dude,
as it bubbles up over the course of the movie, like it I know not everyone is going to connect with it, but if you're the kind of person that will, it'll connect with you really deeply. And it's very interesting how Zazie Beetz' character is like hits on a couple of the same concepts and tropes of the manic pixie thing, but not at all.
yes and no.
It's weird because she rides the line with it, but very much avoids the pitfalls of it, and I'm kind of impressed by that as well.
I mean, like, she's definitely like she's a phenomenal actress, and she does not get
Yes,
enough credit for what she does, and she is marvelous in this film.
but I mean, just her role in this movie, like their character in this movie, like that
Like,
character Emma,
yeah,
um, has a very interesting role in the movie, an arc in the movie, and relationship with the main character. And God, Benedict Wong just every time I see him get a chance at a proper like role, I just fucking love that guy. He's so good in everything.
yep.
And the main dude who
I,
has only been in two things that I can really
Black Panther is the only one I think I recognize him from.
us.
Oh yeah, he's in Us.
He's the dad in us.
It's been I haven't watched it since we saw it in theaters, so to
No,
be
but that's what I'm saying. Like that's pretty much it.
yeah,
Like that's all we've really seen him in, and he has proven himself
very versatile. Like
excellent.
between
Excellent.
this Black Panther, Us, they're very different roles, each and every one.
Yeah.
Every single one he's played to damn near perfection.
Yeah. He is fucking excellent, and I'm really happy to see him get a role that offers him a chance to flex this much range within a single movie. There's a lot of depth to this character that I really appreciated, and the way that he tackles that depth and that subtlety is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, and like the way this movie just tackles kind of the main crisis of sensitivity versus toughness and what it means to be alive, or who deserves to be alive, so to speak.
Well,
It's a very interesting struggle. Go ahead.
What I see it as is, especially as the movie progresses and you come to understand it more,
Yeah,
it's less even of a matter of who deserves to be alive and more a question of who will be suited for life.
that's true. Yeah, you're right.
And and what, in a sense, who has the best shot at a proper life. And then the question comes up, what is a proper life? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
And it's this movie brought up a lot of feelings, man.
yeah.
A lot
Like,
of feelings.
no, I would like. There was quite a few scenes in this movie. I just gotta say, like, I was just in awe of just, especially the. I'm not gonna give the context, but the farewell scenes in particular
Yeah.
were just gut wrenching.
Yeah.
And again, like the way this movie displays empathy and like just raw, real emotion. And
Yeah.
just like it feels unfiltered. It feels in the moment. It doesn't feel like anyone's wearing a mask. It feels like this is just you're getting the full spectrum of it. And the movie is demanding that you look at it and sympathize or empathize with it in a very unique way. It's almost encouraging you to embrace that sensitivity that the main character also tends to reject.
It's it's interesting because it's not even, I don't want to call it raw because that feels like gritty. This is more just
It's real,
bare.
like that.
This
That's
is
what I
just
mean.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is, there's a profound earnestness and honesty to the way that this movie approaches the questions that it's asking and the
Yeah.
experiences that it's offering. And, a lot of people won't connect with that. I absolutely did. It hit home, it hit hard. I was blown away multiple times throughout the movie. The soundtrack is gorgeous. The cinematography is
Oh,
gorgeous.
so beautiful. And this is the
Uh,
person's first fucking movie, which is
yeah,
like
for a debut, this is
infuriating.
fucking insane.
Which is like, oh, like it's almost not fair that a directorial debut is like this fucking talented,
Yeah,
right out of
this
the
is
fucking gate.
staggering. So
And it's again like
I,
it's an actor's film. Every performance in this movie, whether big or small, absolutely fucking nails it.
yeah,
And like really sell you on this kind of unique concept of like I guess the before life, so to speak. And even though a lot of these people don't, oh, did you freeze on me? Are you still there?
I'm here. I'm
Oh,
just,
okay, okay.
just
I'm a little
not
paranoid.
moving.
But like if every single one of these souls you see kind of transpire through this program just feels like they live a full life and all these kind of ranges of emotions that when some of them have inevitably kind of disappear or go away, it's like it fucking rips you open a little bit because like you've seen like they feel almost self-actualized in these very real ways.
Yeah.
So like to me that definitely opens up like a more moral quandary with the concept.
Well,
um
I mean, I have questions about the bigger world, but I understand that you are not intended to know everything about
for
how
sure,
this concept works or, where they go if they don't get the chance to live,
for sure.
you know,
And I get
where
that.
where 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 are these people who, never got to live? Like, where do they come from? Why did they get jobs? Like,
Yeah.
what are the rules of this place?
But you don't really
But
need
I
to, 'cause
kind of,
it's meant to be emotional experience, not really a physical one.
no, exactly. But that's the thing. Like, if you're approaching it really worrying about that, if you can't just let that shit go, then you're not gonna get this movie. Like, it's not gonna
True.
connect with you. Like, you got to let go of the specific details of how certain things work. Like,
But it's not even just like a question of how things work. It's so much of like that person deserved to live. God damn it! No, this soul is gone forever, presumably into the ethos or whatever.
well, but where are they going? Is that death? What is this death?
Is that just a God's undo button? Is that what happens there?
Well, I don't know. That's the real, like, what the feeling is weird. The feeling is, that they go on to a more permanent death or something.
That's kind of like, or at least like not even a death because they never truly lived. So it's almost like
Yeah,
going back to a non-existence.
yeah.
Um,
So, like, where what I don't know, and it's interesting because you consider, people are products of their environments, and the personalities they have theoretically come from, what they've been through to a certain extent. But all of these people are fully formed to a certain extent. So what?
how does that work? Yeah,
Yeah, what's
I,
that?
I think my first thought was, all right, just which is the interview that approved Trump? I just want to talk to him. I just want to talk to him.
um
Yeah, man.
shit, I just realized something.
What's that?
What happened to Anne?
I assume she just never made it to round two.
Yeah, like she just never gets mentioned past the first round. Like, what happened to her?
There's a few people in that first round they just don't come back. So I'm assuming they just had that first test and they're just like, nope, I'm out.
I guess, yeah.
Like that was there. Yep, nope, this is too much for me. We're gonna be over here now, and whatever happens next. Oh God. We're gonna spoilers for a little bit because there is some stuff in the spoilers I want to talk about.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I mean, we've made it clear how we feel about this.
So like, I highly recommend this movie. I think it is definitely an experience worth checking out if this is kind of your bag. Recognize this is not for everybody, but we're snobby film people, so yes.
I mean, if you're a sensitive soul, fucking
also a
check it out.
Yep. If you like to get a good cry in your movies, then it's worth seeking out. So
yeah, there's every bit of that bittersweet, melancholic, like this is exactly the kind of shit that gets to me. Like
I'm right there with you. Like, it's got
kind of melodramatic, kind of like overly earnest, but at the same time, not from a place of forcing it. Like it feels very genuine.
For sure.
It comes from like the kind of person who will probably like cry if they look at a flower for too long or something, like just the beauty of nature or some shit. Like maybe, I don't know, but yeah, that's the kind of shit that hits home to me. The stuff that embraces all of the pain and beauty and like bittersweetness of existence in general, like all at once. This movie has that in spades. So yeah, this is full marks for me for this guy.
All right. So with that being said, I think like the one issue, and I fully acknowledge this is a personal gripe.
Well, hey, does this mean we're going into spoiler territory?
Yeah, spoiler territory
really mark spoiler territory.
Or for some people, why don't you give away too much? In case we, I don't know.
Hey, don't make fun of your audience, Michael.
It's he's not even subscribed. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
So I guess like the one major thing, and granted, I 100% follow the narrative thread as to why the final decision is made for what it is. Because it boils down to like Mike and Emma at the end. He eventually ends up going with Mike, even though Emma's clearly the better choice. And I get why, because Mike is like the tougher one. He's willing to play the game. He's willing to go along with whatever goes at him. He recognizes when he sees it. But at the same time, I'm kind of thinking, it's like, yeah, but Mike is clearly a fucking sociopath, right? Like, the way he just, something about it just gave me really off vibes. I'm like, I get he wanted to go with someone tough who thinks he can survive the world because of like Amanda and what happened to her. And he kind of wants like the exact opposite, as far away from that as he can go. But at the same time, he may have just created the next like slasher killer. The person who will bury him in the backyard.
There's something to be said about someone's own progressing trauma. And there was an element of this that felt like parenthood, where parents don't want their kids to go through the same pain that they went through. So they might try to raise their kids specifically to not be the kind of person that they were, so they don't have the same vulnerabilities that they had. And that may come from their own sense of regret or self-loathing or whatever it is. You know, they want to make sure that their kids grow up a certain way. And I don't know, just the whole idea of just I am very much, it's weird because I sit in a weird middle space between those two characters, where like I am unabashedly sensitive. I unabashedly feel the world. I intentionally try not to close myself off after bad experiences, because fuck if I let those fuckers win. Fuck if I let them take the enjoyment of my life away from me because they hurt me or scared me. I refuse to let people like that win. But at the same time, you know, as a person who's deeply fucking depressed, like the the negative side of life is an unavoidable reality to me,
Yeah.
and it just exists in this storm of ups and downs, and like it's so interesting to see. I find it, I like seeing it in the sense that it's a parable and it's meant to be a story and it's meant to be fiction, it's meant to be metaphorical. Like I
Yeah.
understand that. Which only speaks to this movie's strength, because generally I have a problem when movies try to separate it into like black and white like that, to act like there's a whole distinction between those and that they're not like mixed together all the way. Um, I don't know. I just
I'm never sure so much as focus on black and white. I think it's more the movies emphasizes like where you choose to focus that energy.
well, yeah, but it's a matter of competing perspectives, right?
Yeah.
And like they framed those as two competing perspectives, whereas I would have been interested to see another character who perhaps, you know, sees all the darkness and sees the shit that you have to do to survive, but also chooses to focus on the brightness, the good parts.
See, like
Like
I, oh, go ahead.
there's like I feel like there was a very clear distinction between, you know, Mike and Emma in terms of what they focus on in the world, what they see in the world. And the conversation of the dinner table, I think, was meant to specifically like maybe counteract that criticism. Um, but in the end, I don't really, it's just a problem that I normally have with things like this. But in the context of this movie, I didn't mind so much because it's not meant to be a movie with necessarily realistic characters. It's meant to be a movie with characters that represent certain kind of more pure concepts, just archetypes in a way.
Mm-hmm. See, like
And
that.
I appreciate that.
See, for me, like this is where I said like this is a very personal thing for me, in terms of how I interpret the ending. Because for me, I am definitely of the mindset where it's like I think we need more openly sensitive people. Like
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
like
World would
it's
be a
like
better
if we
place.
want to change the batshit world, then stop approving the bat like not the that's not batshit. What they call it, shithole people. It's like if we want a less shithole world, don't bring in the shithole people. Bring in the sensitive spirits and bring in the people who are actually going to give that love as much as they earn it. And you can turn those people into fighters in their own respect who can see the world for as they are. But you like they got to start there, and they got to like learn how to grow with those damages. Now, granted, those can be it can end the way like it did with Amanda, which is obviously a big catalyst event and why the decision was ultimately made.
Of course.
But at the same time, I was like, that to me personally, that is a risk worth taking. Um,
Well, but
and I granted
that's
that is a me perspective. That is not the film's perspective. And or
yeah.
like, and I
But I
recognize that's what I'm emphasizing. This is very much a specifically me personal thing. It is not a fault of the movie that they don't share my perspective on this. This is just more like my personal
no,
feeling.
I don't think that it shares your perspective on. I don't think that it doesn't share your perspective on that,
Okay.
because I think the whole point was at the very end he realized he made the wrong choice.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I feel like, well, that's great, but she's still gone forever, thanks to
no,
you.
but that's the thing. That's the tragedy of it. That's part of what's so sad about it,
Yeah.
is that the threat of Amanda running through the film means that, you know, it is the way that that affects him, and the fact that between trying to figure out Amanda and the way that Emma is picking away at his, you know, at his wall that he's built around him,
Yeah.
the two of those combined do something to him where he is having to battle through unprocessed stuff and he's fighting against it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the what he's doing is essentially adopting the same stance that sadly a lot of men do, which is they've been hurt. So instead of processing that stuff, they think the way to display strength, the way to process this and actually get through it, is just to build a wall around themselves and not feel as much. And they think that it's strength to isolate yourself from your emotions, which, you know, it may allow you to endure things if you turn yourself into a sociopath, but that's not That's not living. That's not actually processing anything. And that's not a good way to be. That's why you get people who do terrible things, because they see something like sensitivity or empathy as weakness, caring about other people as weakness. So and this is only reinforced because the more he thinks about it, the more it hurts, the more it reminds him of his life, the pain that he experienced, the unrealized potential that he missed out on because of that pain. And it's being reflected back at him by Amanda. It's being challenged by Emma. And so as he progresses through it and as he experiences these feelings, he makes the wrong choice in the end.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when he sees what she's written and he thinks about her final request and he chooses to see it through.
Yeah. That is.
I don't know how much of that actual monologue you caught.
Enough to get the theme.
Yeah.
Because it was Shakespeare, I think it is.
Huh?
Was it Shakespeare? I think it is.
I have no idea. I'm gonna look it up. But whatever that monologue is that he brings up, it is profoundly about accepting the storms of life.
Yeah.
And what may come and what has happened to you, and living and feeling in spite of it all. And that is just life and death. And him reconnecting to that moment in his life and what that monologue is and what it brings out of him. It's basically her final sacrifice,
I guess. Yeah.
And there's something really profoundly tragic and beautiful about that. I just, and the sadness on his face as he finishes up and thanks her. There's so much in there.
Yeah.
I just, oh God. Fuck. Yeah, that was I understand. I don't think that it was a perfect ending, but at the same time, how else would I have ended it? What would I have done? Would I have wrapped it up with a pretty little bow and made like, oh yeah, he figured it out and Emma gets to be alive and he made the right choice and he realized it, and that's it feels too neat and tidy for what this movie brings up. You know, it had to do something.
See, I think you can make the argument that you can still have that moment and still be in a culmination of all those things. I don't think it's necessarily wrapping them in a tight, needy little bow. I think you can absolutely pull it off. And I think for me, that is like the one genuine criticism I will give on this is like, to me, going with Mike over Emma did feel like a move meant more for the sad ending as opposed to what I felt like came naturally to the story at that stage of things. And that's
I processed it. He was fucked up over the suicide note.
And I understand that, but for me, I felt like you'd have to rework some things, obviously, but I think there's a way you can make that work.
Not to mention that I think it's heavily implied that he also killed himself.
Yeah, I could see that. I didn't really think about it at the time, but I could see that.
That's because that's why I think the suicide note really fucked him up.
I mean, like, no, you don't. Like, here's the thing, like, I'm lucky that I haven't I know anyone that's done that. Well, yeah, that's not true. But like the thing about suicide, regardless of like whether you have personal experience or not, or in this case, whether this character did it or not, the reality is whoever does it leaves the person they leave behind just ultimately just confused and lost. So I don't think the character would have need to have done that to experience those same emotions.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, like when like he goes through all the things, like he tries to rationalize what really happened. He tries to rationalize as not suicide. And then when he finds out that it was suicide, he goes to like, well, I didn't see her write the note. Like, I never saw any sign. Was this whole inner life that I didn't even know about? Like the feeling isn't necessarily, it doesn't, you don't need a personal connection with that to feel those things.
No, you don't. But throughout the whole movie, it is talking about how she was like him and he didn't really realize it, and how he thinks he chose her because of that, but didn't really realize it, and how she felt the same pain that he did. And there are references throughout the movie about how much they are alike.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the whole thing was that he really didn't want any of the people that he chose to live, to have that kind of experience. And the decisions that he was making were specifically to stop whoever he chose from experiencing that kind of pain out of life.
Yeah, and I got that.
And
I just don't necessarily.
And I think that the suicide note, when he realized that part, that really just sent him into a sort of spiral.
Yeah,
where he realized that he could not sentence another person to a life where they would hurt that much. Mm-hmm. And it just basically buried him back down into those feelings. And it was basically the worst time for that to come up, because he had a traumatic response to it.
Maybe. I can see that argument. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I just think you can have those in this scenario, regardless of whether or not you committed suicide.
I mean, I guess it leaves it open to interpretation for that reason.
Yeah,
because you can have that, but personally, I feel that very strongly from this, and that's why I think that, in a certain way, there's something about it which is also a metaphorical warning message of not getting so caught up in that pain that you forget what it means to live and be alive and enjoy the little things that make it good to be alive in the first place. And as someone who has experienced and does experience plenty of suicidal ideation, this movie was a roller coaster. There was definitely points of it where I was like, wow, other people's happiness is making me sad. Wow, I kind of want to die right now. Like, just I had moments, but like that's part of what this movie is exploring and talking about. And there's something really brave about that. The way that it does it, it's profoundly real.
And I think on that same level, there is also still the compensation of empathy, because he doesn't close himself off completely. He still lets himself have these very personal moments, but at the same time, the movie emphasizes is he's a giving as opposed to a give and take. Yes. Which is
it is outwards. It's not inwards.
Inwards, which is a toxic form of empathy. And I like none that's more prevalent than when he recreates these moments with other people, where he's basically forcing himself to live these people's basically final moments,
dude,
before they move on. And he's sitting there and he's stuck. He's left behind with basically all of their grief and their lasting sadness, and their bittersweet goodbyes as they kind of fade into the ether. And he has to carry that burden while not being able to give anything in return.
Dude, it's all I can think of is like hospice workers.
Oh, God.
Like, God, just
dude, like it reminds me of
comfort. Like that is very much the kind of shit that, like, the burden that he's carrying, the fact that he decides to take that on, and just, man, this movie hits so many notes. And it got the bicycle ride scene, like,
fucking hell, yeah.
Why did that hit? Why did that hit so hard?
Dude, I cried watching that.
What the fuck? Like,
yeah.
Oh man,
that sequence fucking broke me. Because it was such unrestrained joy at the most simple, mundane task. And it was truly just this, again, encapsulation of what it means to be human, is finding those little moments where you're just in it with yourself and you're at peace with the world around you, and everything just makes sense. And then
enjoy the world.
And you're just like, you're exactly where you want to be and exactly the way you want to be it. and then suddenly that's ripped away from you and you're stuck back in the reality. It's like, oh no, this is it. Like this is where it all ends. And it's just like, fucking hell.
Yeah, that's woof.
Oh god.
Some rough steez, bro.
It's like it's all coming back to me now that I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god. Fuck.
No, this hits a lot of notes.
Yeah.
And there is something, it's tricky because I know that there are people who, you know, there's a fine line between considering a movie to be heartfelt and considering a movie to be manipulative. And I know that there are going to be people that just don't connect with this, that see it as kind of like cheap heartstring plucking. But I don't like, the reason that I will hold this movie's approach towards such emotionally stirring moments as more valid than like 99% of movies out there is because there's something deeper about it. There's something that's part of the writing and filmmaking of this movie that it just comes from a genuine place. And I don't know how to quantify it. I don't know how to describe it. It just feels real. It feels like someone who survived a suicide attempt and found the light again. Honestly,
It's more
that's
like
what it feels like to me.
I can absolutely see that. I think to kind of help to provide voice to that a bit more, to me, I think the difference between like this movie and something that would be more manufactured is because one, this movie knows what it's talking about.
Yeah.
There is a open, enthusiastic sincerity to everything that is happening between the actor's performance, between the music, between this like the choreography and the set design. All these things convey this purely empathetic emotional response, and it's very carefully engineered to provide that response, as opposed to like something more manufactured with Smoltzy, where they were just like, oh, the sad music's playing, that means you're supposed to feel sad now, so you go be sad for this person you don't care about. And there is such a distinct line for that, and that goes to just a deft hand and a gentle guide and knowing just what the hell you're doing and how to convey those tough emotions.
Yeah.
And you,
Well,
need to deeply care about what you're making to do that.
That's the thing. I think that's the crux of it. It's not, it is a very rare convergence of the skill to convey such things and actually feeling them deeply enough to convey them genuinely.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often.
And it's fucking hard.
Yeah. And like, I mean, honestly, like, and this is fucking side tangent, like, hear me out. That's part of why, however the execution may fall flat sometimes, I think that I still connect so deeply to some Zack Snyder shit. Like, I feel that kind of earnestness from him, even if he does fucking trip and plant his face in the ground sometimes. Like, I think I just prioritize the fact that I know it's coming from a genuine place more. And that's the thing about it. Like, I think I'm just willing to overlook situations where somebody may not have all of the filmmaking dexterity to convey that level of sensitivity in a way that feels that genuine. And, you know, I'm willing to take a certain measure of give and take when it comes to that. But that's what's astonishing about this movie. It lands it all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It has the sincerity and it has the skill to put it forward.
Yeah.
And it has something to say. And I feel like there's something in my head. I found myself through the movie wondering, what character is the avatar for the director? You know, what the person telling the story, who is the avatar here? And I found myself wondering if it was, you know, if it was Will, because of course he's the one who's technically the main character. And then I found myself wondering if it was Emma, because she's technically the one trying to teach him something. And in the end, like, now that I'm talking about it and I think about it more, I believe that Emma is his current self talking to Will as his past self. Like, this is the feeling of someone who has overcome a great pain And like I increasingly think that I have a suspicion that this, if not someone who tried to kill themselves, then someone who came close, who had that level of feeling, who had that ideation, and they have found their way to a better place, and they found their way to appreciating life in a new way. And I feel like this was their conversation internally with themselves, and maybe the other people that come through are just the different perspectives that they've encountered and like considered or observed on their journey towards figuring out how they wanted to approach life. So that's it. There's a lot to think about with this movie. It's an astonishing work of art.
Deep. No, I think you're onto something. Fuck, it makes me want to cry thinking about it.
Yeah, it's this is a rough one.
Shit. Yeah, I think that's honestly a good place to end it. Unless you have something else you want to add, but I think that's a pretty good note to leave it on.
Yeah. Are you cutting out a bit?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say, really.
Yeah.
There's not a lot else to say, and
beautiful film. Beautiful film.
Definitely one of the best of the year.
Yeah, I think so.
We've got some strong fucking movies this year, man.
Like between this and The Father.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking about The Father too, but like just fucking impressive.
Like, I will say The Father Review Prize are my favorite comments of this year, which is like, I came here for the movie, I stayed for the therapy. But yeah, we've got some good contenders this year. Like this year's gonna be like this top 10 this year's gonna be rough.
Oh man, what else? Hang on, let me see something real quick.
Movies we've covered this year.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the list real quick. Might as well jump into something slightly lighter to end this on.
The Black Messiah, Nomadland.
Nomadland was pretty good. Didn't we have? Is that technically this year? Wasn't that for last year?
Nomadland.
Yeah,
it went wide this year, so I'm counting.
Okay. Oh no. Wait. No.
Riders of Justice.
Sort by release date, newest first. Okay.
Pig,
definitely up there.
It's already like first. That's top 5 for me right there. But Space Jam 2, no.
I know you weren't as big on it, but I really liked In the Earth. I thought it was unique. But Riders of Justice, definitely. Fucking Wolfwalkers. Does that count as this year or last year?
That was last year.
Oh yeah, no, I rewatched it. That's why it's on my list here. Oh, Another Round. Did you watch Another Round?
We didn't get around that one yet.
Oh shit, dude. Okay, you got to watch that because I watched that is a must see. That is definitely one for this year.
Yeah, we were talking about watching it since because because we just watched Riders of Justice not too long ago. That was kind of the same vein. But we're also in a time where we're back to like 3 movies a week schedule, and it's just been hard to make time for anything else.
Yeah. God, The Father. You've got to come over and watch Shiva Baby. Yeah, just fucking good stuff. Really, really good stuff.
And then later this month, and then later this week.
Right.
For a much different vibe, we got to watch Free Guy.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun.
I heard it's actually pretty good.
I've logged 159 movies for 2021 so far, which feels like not a lot.
Don't Breathe, to and then Respect.
I feel like I'm missing some movies here, but yeah. Oh well. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think got a good idea of where right now. We're just kind of shooting the shit. So
yeah, I think it's funny because we're definitely gonna have to choose like the worst of list has a pretty solid fucking lineup so far,
dude. Like we already know what number 1 of the worst is gonna be. Like it's not even an argument.
Well, yeah, no, I mean that's music definitely.
No, but, it's a fight for second place.
No, we got Cruella, we got The Conjuring, we've got fucking
The Conjuring's not even bad enough to make my list this year.
Really, The Conjuring was fucking insufferable for me.
See, like I would honestly, if I would put Malcolm and Marie over The Conjuring 3,
In terms of bad movies,
dude.
it was
Like
that bad.
Malcolm and Marie is just a terrible couple yelling at each other for an hour and a half, and with like saying absolutely nothing. Like imagine the two most pretentious people you've ever met won't shut the fuck up for an hour and a half.
Is it some fucking pretentious dude like writing about his breakup as though it's a play?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, yeah, no, that makes sense.
They don't even break up. It's more like you two should break up. You're clearly awful for each other.
Man, I am not looking forward to the whole catching up to finish my fucking like worst of list this year.
Yeah, you're gonna have to watch Tom and Jerry the movie too.
Oh God, I forgot that even came out.
Thunder Force.
They talk now. They talk now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to watch The Prom.
Woman in the woman in the window. Now the Prom came out last year. You're saved from that piece of shit.
Am I?
Yeah, the Prom came out last year because that was in my top 10 last year.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
got In the Heights maybe because I really fucking hate it.
Really?
I did not like it.
A lot of people really liked it. That's interesting.
My tagline for that was catchy but toothless.
No, what was it? I mean, for me, like, it's clearly not going to be like something on this list, but still, I'm so glad that Evangelion 4.0 just they landed.
I hear you, buddy. I hear you,
dude. For a movie, okay, so the 1.0 came out 2007. Oh, okay. Is you?
I'm still here.
Okay. 2.0 came out 2009. 3.0 came out 2012.
So it's been a while.
We've been waiting. We've been waiting for 9 years. 9 years. And I mean, it took them a while to come out in the US, but they had like limited edition releases in theaters. So like 3.0, I saw in theaters.
Damn.
When they had like just a quick sub from Funimation, and then it took them like another 2 or 3 years to bring it to Blu-ray in the States. So we couldn't buy it, but I got to see it in theaters like when it first came out. So just the wait for this. Not to mention that it completes a franchise it's 25 years old.
Damn.
And it was like one of my favorite things in the world when I was in middle and high school. And as time has gone on, I've still had great fucking respect for it and what it tries to do and say. So like to have the grand finale of these remakes happen and have them properly be able to stand toe to toe with the original finale, which is one of my top 3 movies, is saying something. So yeah, very happy that happened. Definitely one of my favorites.
Meanwhile, I'm tricking people into watching Centaur World because I need other people to know it exists.
I don't have time.
I don't have time. I got Howard to watch it over the weekend, and he is just like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like after finishing the 10 episodes, I was like, I don't know, but isn't it kind of great?
God damn it.
Anyway, I think we're done talking about 9 days now, so the rest will just talk off camera. See you guys later.
Yeah, all right. Later.